The boat Paragon got a little damage buff in the recent update, so today I'm gonna use it to take down Elite Phayze on the new map using only the water. The new buff isn't that huge. The bonus boss damage from the cannon batteries went from 60 to 80. Now that's a 33% buff, but when counting in all the regular damage and the bonus Moab damage, it's only an 11% buff. And the Navark has several more attacks, like the grapes and the plains multiple attacks, so factor all of that in and we're talking about a total damage output buff of maybe about 5% or so it's not a huge change. The boat Paragon, unlike some other Paragons that's been around for a while, hasn't really gotten a lot of buffs. It's gotten some upgrades, like being able to buff the Ace Paragon and making the flanking maneuvers Monkey Knowledge apply to the Paragon, etc., but not really any damage buffs. The most notable change that has happened to this Paragon since its release was the massive nerfs to the hook-ins that were absolutely nuts when the Paragon first came out, and Ninja Kiwi adding a little more boss damage to this Paragon I think is just fine. For tier 1, I've been boat farming to afford an elite defender, for which I skipped the shrapnel upgrade so I can have an easier time leaking to activate the bonus attack speed for 7 seconds. I also got a tier 3 alchemist for a tiny bit of extra attack speed, as well as lead popping power in case the kill takes more than 5 rounds and I run into lead bloons. I also work on a bottom path boat to make a little bit of cash during the kill, and then I can upgrade the boat to tier 4 to get a little bit of extra sellback from the sniper when I go back to farming. Back on round 30, I mined the smallest rock, not because I wanted the income from it, but just so that I would have one less rock blocking the line of sight for the sniper, and because of that I ended up beating the boss on round 44, so I didn't end up needing any lead popping power anyway. And now it's back to farming. I get a 041 ice to freeze the water, and then get a discount village, and then the village that will eventually be turned into my Monkeyopolis that we place as far down as we can on the center water puddle. Then we get a trap and a temporary decamo NG. On this map you don't really need a lot of defense, so one trap will do just fine until we run into Moabs. As I earn more cash, I continue upgrading my setup by getting a rubber to gold, getting the village to tier 4, and then getting working on a farm just inside the village's range. The rubber to gold doesn't have that much time to throw the golden potion onto the bloons before they enter the trap though, so later I will sell it and get it up top instead next to a new ice monkey, and then I also get my hero Geraldo and place down his NFT. Although sadly, the NFT is pretty much useless in water only challenges, because when you place it this late, it won't end up making you more than a few thousand throughout the entire game. The real reason for me getting Geraldo for this game is due to the fertilizers, rejuve potions, and camo pots. On round 50 we run into Moab, so now I will get a 031 bomb shooter set to strong, which will help me pop them open, and this is really all the defense we will need up until the next boss tier. So now I just continue upgrading the farm, get an overclock, adding back another rubber to gold, and eventually after saving up some cash I sacrifice the BRF to the Opolis and then get a new one right away. And now we're ready for tier 2. Here the solution is gonna be the Mad, but we don't quite have all the cash we need to buy the Mad yet, so we start the fight and just keep overclocking the farm. Eventually I afford the Mad upgrade, and then I will be overclocking the Mad instead of the farm to get the kill done faster. The rocks are in the way a lot on this tier, which is kind of annoying because it slows down the kill a lot, but the center rocks cost 10k and 50k and takes 10 rounds to remove, so removing them before this tier isn't really an option, as it would slow down my farming a lot in the long run and make it harder to afford the Mad in the first place. But tier 2 still ended up being easy. The only round to stay focused was round 63, where you may want to focus the Mad on the ceramic rushes so you don't leak, but the boss went down in 5 rounds, so now we're back to farming. We sell the Mad, get an Excel trap, and then another rubber to gold again, and now we're once again set when it comes to defense, and we're gonna start saving up cash to get the tier 5 farm. I don't get enough camo pots to have 100% uptime on both the trap and the rubber to gold, and the decamo from the overclock only happens after the bloons have passed over the trap the first time, so I get a decamo wizard at the start of the track to decamo everything right away, so both rubber to golds has a chance to gold bloons right away. After I got the tier 5 farm, I also upgraded my overclock to ultra boost and started stalling the rounds to get my 10 stacks on my tier 5 farm as soon as possible. After that I sold everything up top and replaced it with a tier 5 bank, which will stack well with my rejuves from Geraldo. Once we arrive at tier 3, I sell the trap, rubber to gold and ultra boost after using it once more on the farm, and then I place down 3 dart monkeys that I will turn into a degree 1 dart paragon. Then I get both the trap and the ultra boost back and then start the fight. During the kill, I just need to remember to reapply my fertilizer to my farms, ultra boost the central, and rejuve after using the tier 5 bank ability. Now I've also started to mine the rest of the rocks, as I can't use the money to improve my farming much more, so now mining the rocks makes more sense. And this tier goes down with a pretty good margin of safety despite just being a degree 1 dart paragon. Then I sold my paragon and got my rubber to gold back, and now, since there isn't much more to add in terms of farming, the only thing I can really do is stall the rounds a little bit to make sure I'm getting the most out of my bank ability, and I could even put some stacks onto the bank. And after a few more rounds of farming, it's time for tier 4, and here we're gonna do something that I don't end up doing very often. First of all, we sell the trap and rubber to gold to make room for a boat in the center, which will end up being our paragon, and then we sell the bank and the ice up top to make more room. Here, you can only fit 1 boat, but you can do the equivalent of the ice trick with the mermonkey to fit more water towers inside of a small puddle, so I get the Lord of the Abyss to place the first boat closer to land than I otherwise would be able to, and then sell the Lord of the Abyss, and then I have enough room for a second boat. This way, I can get the Paragon without needing to sell my Opolis, and we can keep farming pretty much the way we were before. I got 2 Paragon totems and sacrificed 800k to get a degree 40 boat, and then after that I get the ice back up top and started working on a new tier 5 farm, and this time I went for the bottom path. I also placed down a base Dartling and NG, which I'm gonna work up to an overclock so I can alternate the two between my farm and my Dartling and get the Dartling up to 10 stacks of ultra boost, since I'm gonna be using it for some extra damage on the final tier. The degree 40 boat shreds tier 4 pretty easily, even though the boss is outside of the range of the cannon attacks most of the time, so I just keep focused on the farming related stuff. The boat Paragon really is one of my favorites. In my opinion, it was one of the most hype Paragon releases of all time. I mean, as I said, the damage was pretty similar to what it is now, but the hook-ins were so freaking crazy on release that you couldn't even spam the send button in Sandbox fast enough for it to leak. I think I'm gonna take up a viewer suggestion and make a video on future Paragons and speculate a bit on what's coming next and what Paragons I think are gonna be the most exciting, so look out for that video. Once we've taken down tier 4, there really isn't anything new that's gonna be going on until tier 5, except that I will start stacking some more Paragon totems, and as I get closer to tier 5, I sold my village to make room for even more totems. So then I got the NG Paragon, not for any specific reason except to overclock the boat, since the boat is the primary focus of the video, and the NG ended up being degree 29 without any cash injection. Then, for my 10x ultra boosted Dartling, I got a Permabrew, Homeland, Call to Arms, and Energizer, and then we start the fight and I place down the Mega Sentries next to the boat on the frozen water. Then I just micro the Dartling and the Green Sentry and use the Mad ability together with my Homeland. Sadly, it seemed like the Mad was not getting the area of effect overclock when I used the NG Paragon overclock on the nav arc, and I would assume that the Mad is close enough to get the effect given that it's on top of the nav arc, but apparently not. But the fight still went pretty well. I did do a test run before this one, where I actually failed on tier 5, because a degree 40 nav arc and a degree 20 dart paragon was not enough, and the boss teleported outside of the map with its last teleport, but this time I beat the boss with a bit of time to spare. And I'll remind you that the Chimps free play competition is still ongoing and there is still plenty of time to participate, so I'll leave a link to the competition announcement video down below. Leave a like if you enjoyed this video, and I will see you in the next one.